Hey there, future teacher, and welcome to another CSET multiple subjects test prep lesson proudly presented by teacherpreps.com. In this video, you and I will complete a Subtest 2 practice quiz where I will show you some of the types of questions that you will likely see on test day, all about math and science. And if it's been a while and you're looking for a refresher and you want to know the types of questions that you can expect to see, then keep watching, you found the right video. So without further ado, let's click this blue button up above and begin. All right, so the first question reads, a circle with a radius of 6 centimeters is inscribed in a square. What is the area of the square? So what I want to do is just draw this circle, and we have a radius of 6 centimeters, and it is inscribed in a square, so it'll look something like that. All right, now first and foremost, take a moment to try and complete this problem by yourself, and then when you are ready, push play to come back. I'm going to be thinking about this, and all right, let's keep going. So in order to solve this problem of finding the area of the square in which a circle with a radius of 6 centimeters is inscribed, what we first want to do is we need to have an understanding of the relationship between this circle and the square. So in this scenario, the circle's diameter equals the square's side length, and that's because the circle is inscribed. So we know that the diameter is, sorry about that, it should be a little bit straighter, of course. The 6 times 2 is 12, so the diameter is 12 centimeters. So we can see that the length of the square is also going to be 12 centimeters. And because this is a square, each side length is the same. And what this question is asking is the area of the square. And we can remember that area for a square is area equals the base times the height. And so if we have a base of 12 centimeters and a height of 12 centimeters, then what we'll do is multiply these together. 12 by 12 is 144, and that's centimeters. I'll go back over here and have a look, and I see 144. Great. Now let's keep it going. I'll read this to you and then pause the video. Take a moment to try and solve this by yourself, and then push play when you're ready to discuss it. All right, so number 2 reads, a box contains 8 red balls, 6 green balls, and 4 blue balls. If one ball is drawn at random, what is the probability of drawing a red or green ball? So again here, take a moment to try and solve this by yourself and then come back when you're ready. All right, now, in order to find the probability of drawing a red or a green ball from a box containing 3 different colors, we'll first start by counting the total number of balls. Remember that we have 8, here we go. We have 8 red balls, and we have, what is here, 6 green and 4 blue. So I'll just put a little R and a G and a B. There we go. Now that total then would be 18 in total, 18 balls. Now, the second step after you find the total is to count the number of favorable outcomes. And since we're looking for the probability of drawing either a red or a green, we add the number of red and green together. So here we have the red and here we have the green, and what we want to do is add them, and we know that 8 plus 6 is 14. So now what we need to do is calculate the probability. What we need to do is find the ratio of favorable outcomes out of the total. So we have 14 favorable out of 18 total. And in order to get this ratio, we will just put 14 over 18. So that's favorable over total. And I'm looking at the answer key right here, and I'm not seeing 14 over 18. Do you know what we should do? We should try and simplify it. And I know that 14 and 18 can both be divided by 2. So I'll start there. 14 divided by 2 is 7, and 18 divided by 2 is 9. That leaves us with 7 over 9. All right, is that what you got? Good. Let's go on to question number 3. which reads, a library has a collection of fiction and nonfiction books where the library has a total of 200 books. 4 out of every 7 books are fiction. How many books are nonfiction? Which diagram is most appropriate for solving the problem below? Now, I know that this looks a little bit small on your screen, so what I can do is zoom in here. And I do notice that each of these 3, I'll have to zoom out for the 4th one, all 4 have a total of 200, and that's what we're looking for. So first we want to evaluate the diagrams, and we can see that all are out of 200. However, if I zoom in with all 4 of them, there we go, what I see is that we need a diagram, first and foremost, that represents more fiction than nonfiction, and I see that this first diagram is 50-50, so it's not going to be option 1. The second diagram does have more fiction than nonfiction, so it could be option 2. Option 3 also has more fiction than nonfiction, and option 4 has more nonfiction than fiction, so it's not going to be option 1 or 4, but option 2 or 3. But now we need to further evaluate this. We actually need to do the math. To calculate the number of fiction books, the ratio of fiction books, remember, is 4 to 7. So what we want to do is we want to write that fraction or that ratio, and now we want to multiply the total number of books by this 4 over 7. So 4 over 7 times 200, we can put that over 1, and what we want to do is, remember, when you multiply fractions, you multiply the numerators, and then you multiply the denominators. So let's go here, and 4 times 200 is 800, and 7 times 1 is 7. Now what we need to do is divide this 800 by 7. So we have 800 divided by 7, and I know that 7 goes into 8 one time. Subtract it, bring down the 0, and 7 goes into 10 one time. 10 minus 7 is 3, bring this 0 down, and how many times does 7 go into 30? That would be 4 times with 28 here, and 30 minus 28 is 2, so we have 114, remainder 2. Now this is the number of fiction books right here. So number of fiction altogether. So this is out of the 200, because if it's 4 out of 7 and there's a total of 200, a little more than 114. So now we know the number of fiction books, and we need to know the number of nonfiction books. And in order to do that, if we have the number of fiction books and we can take 200, there we go, 200, and we can subtract it by 114. Notice how I'm going to round this. I'm going to round the 114 remainder 2 into 114, and we want to subtract this, and that we can do by solving here. 10 minus 4 is 6. Bring that down, and then 0 becomes 9. We have 8, and the 1s cancel out, and we have 86 is our number of non-fiction books. Let's look back and reevaluate the diagrams on the screen, and we can see if we're only looking at option 2 and 3, we know that this 50, 50, and 50, that equals 150, but we just said that the number of fiction books is 114. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at option 2, and let's say, what's 38? 38 times 3, because there, notice the illustration has 3 bars here. So 38, let's see here, 8 times 3 is 24. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 2 is 11, and that brings us to our same amount as 114. Appropriate illustration then comes from option number 2. Let's keep it going. All right, number 4, I'll read this to you and then pause the video and try and solve it all by yourself, and then come back when you're ready for the math talk. In a right triangle, and you know what, while I read it, I'll kind of start to draw it too. In a right triangle, remember that's 90 degrees, the length of one leg is 15 centimeters, and the length of the hypotenuse right here is 17 centimeters. what is the length of the other leg? Okay, so one more time, pause the video, try to solve this, and then come back when you're ready. All right, now, in order to find the length of the other leg, meaning this one right here, in a right triangle, when we know 1 is 15 and 1 is 17, what we need to use is the Pythagorean theorem, which, as you can recall, is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And since we know that one leg is 15 and the hypotenuse is 17, we can input those numbers. So 15 squared plus b squared equals 17 squared. Notice that the hypotenuse will be our c. All right, now what we want to do is we want to solve for this. So 15 squared is also 15 times 15, and 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 1 is 1, plus 2 is 7. Bring this 0 down, cross this out. 1 times 5 is 5, and 1 times 1 is 1. And here we go. We can add these together. We have 5 here, 12 there, 2 here, so 15 squared is 225. Let's figure that out for 17 squared, and I'll do this up here. So 17 times 17, 7 times 7 is 49. 7 times 1 is 7. Sorry about this pop-up. I'm left-handed, and so my hand always touches the screen. All right, 7 times 1 is 7, plus 4 is 11. So now we can bring this 0 down, cross out the 4. 7 times 1 is 7, and 1 times 1 is 1, making our total 289. There we go. Now let's input this here, and let's rewrite our problem, our Pythagorean theorem, with the answers or the products that we just found. So we have 225 plus b squared equals 289. And what we want to do next is subtract the 225 from both sides to get the b squared by itself, 225. And let's see here. Let me just write this up top. 289 minus 225. All right, so that's going to be 4 and 6 and 0. So now we know that b squared equals 64. And in order to solve for this exponent here, we will take the square root of 64, which is 8. And I see 8 as the first option. So we'll click that and keep going. All right, so question number 5 reads, a car travels at an average speed of 45 miles per hour for the first half of a trip and 60 miles per hour for the second half. If the total distance is 180 miles, what is the total travel time for this trip? Once again, pause the video, see if you can solve it, come back for the math talk. I'm going to start right in and just dive into it. So step 1 is to divide the total distance by 2 in order to find the distance for each half, because that's the way that the problem split it up, first half, second half. So we know, let's say TD, that's total distance, that is 180 miles, and the distance for each half then would be, if we took 180 divided by 2, would be 90 miles. So first half, second half is both 90 miles. The next thing I'm going to do is calculate the time for the first half of the trip at 45 miles per hour. And so you'll need to know the time equals distance over speed formula. And if you have access to the Teacher Prep Study Guide, you have access to the entire sheet of all of the formulas that you need to know for Subtest 2 of your CSET multiple subjects exam. However, let's keep going. Now, the second thing that I'll do in order to calculate the time is we need the time for the first half. Let's solve that first. So let's say first half of the trip, that's going to be 90 miles. We're going to take that first half. Remember, we calculated that as 90 miles, and they said they are going 45 miles per hour. All right, so we have 45 miles per hour equals, all right, so 90 divided by 45, that is 2 hours. And the second thing we need to do is calculate the time for the second, excuse me about this, is the second half. All right, so the second half, again, is still a total mileage of 90 miles, and they are going 60 miles an hour, so ramped it up a little bit. And 90 divided by 60, pretty close to 45, but that is 1.5. So this was 1.5 hours, just abbreviate it like that. And then the last thing we need to do is add the times for each half to find the total travel time. So 2 plus 1.5 is 3.5. Now, question number 6 gets us, looks like I can see organism here, and so we're going into the science section. All right, so lichen is an organism that arises from a symbiotic relationship between a fungus and a photosynthetic partner, typically an alga, or, okay, I'll let you say that one. The fungus provides a structure for the algae while the algae produce food through photosynthesis. What type of relationship is this? Notice that we're getting into the science portion of this, and for this section, we'll need to know that this is mutualism, and that's because both organisms are benefiting. All right, question number 7. Which of the following situations best illustrates the transfer of heat by conduction? Take a moment here, read answers A, B, C, and D, and select the best response. All right, so I can see here that a pan of water starts to boil when placed on a lit stove. That's the first one I've read, and I know that's correct because when there's a hot stove, the heat from the stove is conducted through the material of the pan, this metal, and that causes the water inside to heat up and then boil, and that is conduction. All right, let's keep going. Question number 8. The result of the creation of, what results in the creation of sedimentary rock? The solidification of lava. Okay, let's read this. Okay, so I just found it. Before I say the answer, make sure that you have selected what you think is best. All right, I'm going with option B. And this comes from the section in your CSET Subtest 2 that's all about Earth and space science. So notice that sedimentary rocks are formed through sediment. So that's like different particles, organic matter that are already pre-existing and usually happen because of erosion and weathering. Okay. Question 9 reads, a group of 3rd grade students is curious about the growth of plants. Which of the following student-generated questions is best suited for gathering a testable hypothesis? Is it, how do plants know when to start growing in the spring? Take a moment here and read these 4 answer options and see which you think is a most testable hypothesis. Notice that this is coming from the content specification under the CSET section labeled, that would be like lab processes, equipment, and safety. Now, what I'm noticing here, let's see here, the color, I would go with what color light is best growing tomatoes in a classroom, and that's because this question can actually be tested. Yeah, and that's what the question is looking for. So let's keep going. We have question number 10. This is our last one, and closing up on time. Which scenario could potentially lead to the development of a new insect species over many generations? All right, take a moment, read answer options A through D, or 1 through 4, and come back when you're ready. Okay, I'm going to go with answer option B, or number 2. A group of insects is separated from the main population by a formation of a river. And that's because this kind of challenge could actually make genetic changes in a new species of insect. So let's click the submit button and see how we did. Great. Now, what I really like about the teacherpreps.com practice tests and practice quizzes is that it gives you a diagnostic score. Looks like we got 10 out of 10, so nice job on that. And it's great because if any of these are correct, they show up green, it's really easy to see. And if any of these are incorrect, they show up red while also explaining the correct answer. Not only identifying the correct answer, but providing an explanation so that helps you better understand the types of questions that you currently know, as well as the ones that you still need to practice with. I hope you found this video helpful. If so, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more for your CSET exam, click that subscribe button. And if you just wish that you had everything that you needed to pass in one place, click the link in the description below in order to get access to all of our CSET test prep. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.